Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, Garnet.
Good morning, everyone. I have my friend Alex joining me today. I'm so honored. So, Alex, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what you like.
So I'm from northeast London, and I feel very at home in the orchard because I spend a lot of my time in the allotment. I live in West London now, near the river, and yeah, we're growing lots of fruit, and yeah, now I'm kind of slightly obsessed with gardening.
So, we've chosen this spot for meditation today because we're surrounded by olive trees, cherry tree right next to us here, and we've got a lemon tree over there and a persimmon tree over here. And yeah, and it's kind of a semi-cloudy morning, and we would love to meditate together.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I would like to find out from you, Alex, what is meditation to you?
In one word, it's a lifesaver. But also maybe on a more day-to-day, I feel it's a bit like tidying your room and getting rid of your dusty thoughts.
Okay, I
Yeah.
love that. So, can you expound a little bit on why it's a lifesaver for you?
I think, I don't know, when I meditate on a regular basis, because it's something I've done for like over 30 years, but then I have had gaps, and I noticed that when I don't do it, that's when things start to go in a different way. I'd say I feel aligned because it helps me to centre myself and get back to, what I really, really need to focus on. Like I say, it's like tidying your room. It's that because it's getting rid of the unwanted thoughts that all of us have, and all of us kind of struggle with those cycles of thought.
Yeah.
And I feel like it kind of sweeps away those things.
Okay.
And without it, I think that's when I run into problems, really.
Right. So, so am I right in saying you run into problems more when you don't meditate, but when you do meditate, do you still run into problems?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So what's the point?
But they're just I feel a bit more connected to myself, and it's easier to connect with other people. And so it's easier to be like, yeah, there are these problems, there are these things going on. That's life, and life will always be messy. But I feel just much more resilient when I meditate.
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't add a lot of unnecessary thinking, because we can have problems and they can be quite bad, and they can make us sad, and they can make us angry, they can make us frustrated. But then we can also add loads of thinking and make them much, much worse if we sit and think about them.
Okay. So am I right in saying that meditation would help you handle things a lot better?
Definitely.
So it's a change in the way you handle things.
Absolutely, yeah. It doesn't change anything that happens outside.
Yes.
Unfortunately, sometimes.
Okay. But do you believe that meditation can change things on the outside?
Well, it's like we can't really change what's outside, but we can kind of influence. And I think I remember when I first learned to meditate which is with the Zazen group, and that's still the kind of meditation I tend to do. The kind of I don't know what you call them in English, but I suppose the facilitator, he would always say, not everybody has to meditate, but the more people that do, the easier it gets for everybody.
Yes.
Because the more people are spending time sitting, the less they're making trouble for other people.
Okay. Well, that's a thought. Okay, I didn't see it that way, but yes, I agree. So do you meditate? Well, I know that you meditate with other people in groups, but how often do you do that?
That I do once a week, and then that's one evening a week.
Okay.
And then in the mornings, I tend to do probably 5 or 6 days a week.
Okay.
Sometimes only 10 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes.
And in a group, how long do you meditate for?
We do an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, well, an hour and 10 minutes, because we do half an hour, then we do walking, and then another half hour.
Right.
And then we have kind of a half-hour discussion after that.
That's beautiful. Okay. And the meditations that you do in a group, are they guided or do you sit in silence?
We sit in silence. It's just a Zazen. Like our Sangha is the Dogen Sangha, and it's not part of the International Zen Association. It's a bit different. But Dogen is the monk that brought kind of what we now know as Zen to Japan, because he was quite disillusioned with the way Buddhism was in Japan. He said, I want to go back to the source, and went to lots of Chinese temples and brought back the practice that we now know as Zazen.
Okay.
That kind of then spread particularly to France, to California, and now a bit all over.
Okay. But when you say he went back to source, do you mean he went back to India or?
No, he went back to the south of China.
Okay.
So, which is
where it's from, is it?
Oh, it's all from India originally.
Yeah.
I think Japan didn't have many direct connections with India, and all their Buddhist
link,
traditions came from China.
Right. So that's the closest link for them. Okay, that's really good. I don't think I've done Zen meditations before, or if I have, I'm not aware of it. But I love sitting in silence. I love silent meditations a lot more than guided ones.
Me too, yes, yeah.
Because I tend to get distracted if somebody's trying to guide me.
Yes.
And I'll be like, did they say this or did they say that? And what do they actually mean?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
And my mind starts to question, like, wow, when they say blue sky, how blue is it?
Yeah. Are they thinking the same blue as me?
Exactly. And then I drift off into a tangent.
Yeah.
So when you do your own meditations, do you sit in a particular position or?
Yeah, if I'm at home, I have a cushion and I sit like facing the window and I can see like a big tree outside. Sometimes I have to close my eyes. Sometimes it's quite distracting, especially in the winter because it's like got beautiful shapes.
Yeah.
And I can sometimes think, oh, that would be a good pattern, and then I have to close my eyes.
Okay. You and I are very similar. I get distracted very easily. So, if you were to talk with someone who doesn't meditate, how would you encourage them to meditate? And you know what I mean?
I think that there's someone in my Sangha that has a very good thought about it. I think it's very, very wise, and because it's very, very simple. But he says, meditation in the morning is like ringing a bell, and then that bell just reverberates throughout your day and softens the edges and make things gentler, but at the same time sharpens your focus. So it's I think that's quite a good encouragement, because it's just like it's just kind of setting your day. And because I think maybe if people are reluctant to it, because there's maybe a lot of things that people say about meditation, and sometimes people are, oh, you meditate, you must be really, really, really calm all the time. No, we're human beings, and sometimes actually meditation itself isn't always a really pleasant experience. Sometimes it's quite a struggle, and often time, you're kind of, thoughts come into your mind, you try not to pursue them, but that's not really, it's afterwards that the effects.
Right, it's the after effects that you're kind of, not that you're after, but you can tell.
Yes, that's what's noticeable about it.
Noticeable, that's the one, yeah. Okay, great. So, what type of meditation would you like to do with me today?
I'd quite like to do a silent one.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
Of course. And how how much time would you like to do it for?
Should we do 15?
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so we'll put on the signaling bell, one to invite us to stillness and another one to signal to us that it's the end. And then maybe we can have a chat at the end to see how it was.
Sure, yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So we're going to put a timer on and let's begin. We meditate to get new perspectives and renew our minds. Is there anything else you'd like to add, like an intention for the day?
I think maybe because I'm on holiday, I don't have a particular intention, but maybe
Okay.
just, maybe just to be open. I think that's quite a good thing when you're travelling and doing something new,
Okay.
just to be open to see what you see.
Yeah. Okay, great one. So let's begin. So get into position and here we go. Thank you. Welcome back. So what came up for you?
I was feeling very peaceful. I think I was like, in a good mood, and what thoughts that came up that I was trying to pursue. So when I was thinking about, I could hear all of the sounds. I was like, oh, am I getting distracted? And I was like, no, they kind of feel a bit background. If somebody was talking, it would be a different thing. If it's that
Okay.
word.
Yeah.
In the last place I used to live by primary school, and very often my meditation time would be at the time that all the kids are waiting to go in. But I was never really disturbed by that, because it was just like kind of children laughing, and it's really harmonious like this. And then what came up as well, I was feeling really grateful because I think because you asked about meditation, and I was remembering who introduced me to it, and I was feeling really quite grateful and kind of smiling because it's quite good memories.
Can you share who introduced you?
Yeah, I was living in France and I was studying in Brest in Brittany, and I made friends with this guy called Gwen, his mum was Breton, but his dad was Chinese Indonesian, and so he'd been brought up as a Buddhist in Jakarta, but he was very scathing about his dad's practice. He said, oh, my dad just prays to Buddha when he wants money or something, or like when he wants a new girlfriend.
Yeah.
But he said, I want to do it kind of differently. So we went to the Soto Zen, which is like normally a karate centre, but like 2 evenings a week it's like the Zen place. And it was, and the kind of leader there used to talk in Breton at the beginning, which none of us could understand, but it was very, very meditative. I always remember he didn't do any guidance. He was always just say, let your thoughts pass by like the clouds in the sky. Don't pursue, don't suppress.
Okay.
And that's what I always try and return to. And I was thinking that, but I did allow myself a little smile. I was like, oh, I hope Gwen is doing well now.
Yeah.
I know he went back to Indonesia after his studies. So.
Okay. That's lovely. Yeah.
And how about you?
How about me?
Yeah.
Like who introduced me?
Or did anything come up for you? When you
Oh, I see. What came up for me was a thing that I do quite a lot now, which is the Ho'oponopono.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and I find it really powerful because it's a meditation where I take responsibility for what I've chosen in my life, or what shows up in my life is actually my choice.
Yes.
Some people feel that life happens to them without any choice.
Yes, yeah.
But I don't. I believe that, for example, the birds or the flies showing up where I am right now, it's because of me.
Right, yes, yeah.
And as soon as I take responsibility for that, they stop flying to me.
Wow,
They stop landing on me.
God, isn't that interesting?
Which is why, the conversation we had earlier about, things, do we actually influence things on the external? I actually believe that we do influence it to a very large degree.
Right, yes, yeah.
Not all of it, but and certainly not how things happen, or not specifics anyways, but the chances of influence, of positive influence, are pretty high in my books.
Yeah. Actually, that's interesting perspective.
And I back it up with, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Dr. Masaru Emoto.
No.
He's a Japanese scientist who shot crystals that have formed from water.
Oh, yes.
And he blessed the water with love, and the crystals would form like the most beautiful shapes. And then when they're not blessed, or if they're cursed, then it's all jagged and kind of very not harmonious looking.
Wow, yeah.
So if we expand that thought, if one small crystal, molecule that he has shot with a microscope can be influenced, imagine what a whole body of water would be.
Yeah.
And I'm a true believer of we are all one. Everything is one.
Definitely.
We breathe
Yeah.
as one big organism, even though there seems to be a separation.
Yeah.
But something connects us,
Absolutely.
which is why I think when I meditate, I'm downloading the intelligence of everyone around me.
Yes, that's
And-
very, yeah.
And
Yeah.
when I take responsibility of saying, you know what, no more pushing the buck onto someone else. It's me.
Yeah.
I control my day. I control what thoughts. I control how each water droplet is going to manifest. Is it in love crystals or is it, disharmonious? And I would say that whatever mood I'm in is my responsibility, and it is my duty to be the best mood so that my fellows,
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
it would be, I heard someone say, it's like, well, if you're in a bad mood, it's kind of like you having a body odor and not doing something about it.
Yeah, or not tidying up your front garden.
Exactly. And that odor kind of is imposed onto someone else, and they're like, "Ugh, it's a bit funky, it's not really nice."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You
And then
could do something about
yeah, and then
it.
it kind of snowballs into other things.
Yeah.
So I believe every bit of meditation helps. So that's what came up for me. So I try as often as I can to do the Ho'oponopono because it's my life.
Yeah.
Do you know,
it's what you think. It makes me think of concept like Emma, who's kind of my best friend at work. We teach a lot together, and we bounce ideas off a lot. And then both of us sometimes when we talk about things, especially over the summer, we're preparing things. We get maybe really hung up at, oh God, which is the best text to use here, and like, oh God, but does that video explicit? And then we also have to remind each other, remember, it's not that input, it's much more about how you show up and what you can give, because really, I don't know, maybe this is against teaching profession, but what I see really, I think it's just to make people feel curious, because then they do it. Then they discover things themselves.
they do.
And it's very much a kind of, we had like a little workshop with a few of us a while ago, and another person, what we were really, really saying, because they were saying, well, how do you do this with students, and how do you do this when this topic? And we're just like, because we don't really see any difference between us and them. It's not like we're like the teachers and they're the students. We're all on the same kind of journey. And then when you show up like that, it is very, very, very different from showing up in a way that it wouldn't make sense to me. But it's maybe a more traditional way of teaching that I know and you don't know, so I'm going to tell you. And it's like, no, I think you know.
Yes. So for the sake of my subscribers, can you tell us what you do? You're talking about teaching and all that.
It's a really depressing subject at the moment. I teach sociology, but the bits that I teach are about global inequalities and environmental injustice. So, I have a lot of depressing reading to do over the summer.
Okay.
But there is you can always find things that are quite hopeful. I mean, and thinking about being open to new things when you travel. Last summer, we were near Oyal. We hadn't planned to go to this place, just discovered it on Google Maps, and it was such a hopeful thing. And it's a Belgian guy, and he set up an edible garden with kind of lots of different growing techniques, because he's like, that's in the south of Portugal, it's in the Algarve, and he said, look, climate change has happened. The things that people grow now, they're just not going to grow in 20 years. what are we going to do about it? And so he's bringing in plants from kind of North Africa, from Central and South America that will grow, that can be edible, and he's using Japanese small forest techniques and then also developing his own techniques. And so, you know, if we'd had like a meticulously planned holiday, we'd never have found it, because you're like, oh, what's around? But that was like one of the hopeful things. It's like, yeah, there is a lot of environmental injustice, and it's not difficult to find the evidence for the terrible things that are happening. It's kind of much harder, but there is evidence for people that are doing something about it and doing things in a very just way, and you know, so there's always some magic.
So much gold in what you're saying. I love it. And I want to thank you, first of all, for reading depressive stuff and sacrificing your time to do that, you know, for the sake of the better good, I suppose. And you're gonna leave a legacy for future generations, the people you're teaching, you know, a better way forward. So,
Here's hoping.
yeah, thank you. No, it's important stuff that you're doing, and I hope you don't get too depressed by reading what you write. And maybe you don't have to read all of it. You kind of get the gist,
Yes.
don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. You just kind of skip through it.
Yeah. And I've got some kind of more positive text as well.
Yeah.
You're writing
Yeah.
about different ways. And
Yeah, it's true. And funny thing is that, you know, when even a simple thing like if I had something sad to read, you know, or if I had some homework that I need to do. When I say homework, I mean personal growth work, like looking inward and reflecting on my so-called shortcomings, for want of a better term, right? It's not something that people want to do.
No.
It's like, do we want to go there? No. Which is why Ho'oponopono is great, because you don't have to go there.
Yeah.
It's a blanket. I'm sorry. Please forgive me for all of it. I love you and I thank you. And that's it. You know, it's so powerful. The 4 lines kind of encapsulate everything. So, you know.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing that.
No,
That's
thank
something
you.
we're going to keep
Yeah,
with me.
it's. I think that it's a very elegant and simple way of solving the world's ills. I believe
Yes.
that it can.
Because we can get very complicated about things. And
Yeah,
you don't
and
always need
you
to.
know, there's, like you said, there's so much information out there, right? It's impossible to ponder and labor over every single detail. It's just impossible. But then I believe that the intelligence in the world has an elegant solution for us
I think
if we
so
just
too.
meditate and listen.
I think so too.
And
yeah.
breathe, and that's it. That's enough, because there's magic in the grace, you know, and we can't think our way out of this.
That's very good for kind of all of our problems.
Yeah, we just can't think
Yeah.
enough, you know. And thinking is not the way out. It's breathing into
Definitely.
our souls, because it has that magical way of getting us out of this whatever sticky situation that we're in.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. We've kind of thought our way into it
We
by
did.
thinking of things, but yeah, we're going to have to feel our way and breathe our way out of it.
Absolutely, I agree with that, you know. So I'm really grateful and appreciative that you come all this way to be with me.
And I'm very grateful and appreciative of being with you.
Thank you. And appreciating and being on my channel. I'm so excited. So I hope we have many more, because we've got lots to say.
Yes, yeah.
These are very deep conversations that cannot be done in one go, I don't think. So thank you very much for joining us. Would you like to say namaste to my subscribers?
Namaste.
Namaste. And thank you for joining us, and I wish you a wonderful day.
And I do too.
So, goodbye from Alex.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye from me. Take care.